In this podcast episode, Ben Shapiro discusses the current state of the 2024 election, highlighting the contrasting fortunes of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. With just weeks to go before the election, Shapiro asserts that Trump is gaining significant momentum, particularly in key battleground states. He references polling data from Real Clear Politics, which shows Trump leading in several critical states, including Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, North Carolina, and Georgia. Shapiro emphasizes that if the election were held today, Trump would secure a substantial electoral victory. Shapiro notes the dramatic shifts in momentum throughout the campaign, from Trump initially leading when Joe Biden was in the race to a brief surge for Harris after Biden's exit. However, he argues that Harris's campaign is now faltering as she struggles to connect with voters. He points out that Harris is attempting to appeal to disaffected Republicans, particularly those who supported Liz Cheney, but he believes this demographic is too small to make a significant impact. He criticizes her reliance on high-profile figures like Barack and Michelle Obama to rally support, suggesting that this strategy mirrors past failures, such as Hillary Clinton's in 2016. Shapiro highlights Harris's recent campaign activities, including a birthday celebration with Stevie Wonder, contrasting this with Trump's more relatable public appearances, such as working at a McDonald's drive-thru. He argues that Trump's authenticity and ability to connect with everyday Americans are key advantages in the campaign. He also discusses Harris's disconnect from the electorate, citing a Wall Street Journal report that suggests her campaign is struggling to resonate with voters. The podcast delves into Harris's attempts to engage with various voter demographics, including suburban voters and the Black community. Shapiro criticizes her outreach efforts, particularly her partnership with Liz Cheney, and questions the effectiveness of her strategies. He also points out that Harris's campaign is plagued by a lack of clear policy differences from Biden, which further undermines her candidacy. Shapiro recounts the recent Al Smith dinner, where Trump made headlines with his humor and ability to engage the audience. He contrasts Trump's performance with Harris's absence from the event, suggesting that her decision not to attend reflects poorly on her campaign. Shapiro shares anecdotes from the dinner, including Trump's jokes about Harris and other political figures, emphasizing the lighthearted atmosphere that Trump was able to create. In a humorous segment, Shapiro discusses Trump's joke about Arnold Palmer, which sparked outrage among some media outlets. He argues that the media's reaction to Trump's humor reveals their desperation to find fault with him, especially as Harris's campaign continues to struggle. Shapiro highlights two protests that Harris faced during her campaign, illustrating her inability to connect with voters on critical issues. In one instance, pro-life protesters shouted, "Jesus is Lord," at her rally, to which she responded dismissively. In another protest, she was confronted about the situation in Gaza, and her response was seen as evasive and disconnected from the concerns of the protesters. Shapiro argues that these incidents exemplify Harris's failure to engage with the electorate genuinely. The podcast also touches on the Biden administration's foreign policy, particularly regarding Israel and Hamas. Shapiro discusses the recent killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar and the implications for U.S.-Israel relations. He criticizes the Biden administration's previous warnings against Israeli military actions in Gaza, arguing that their predictions of humanitarian disaster were proven wrong. Shapiro emphasizes that the administration's approach has been misguided and detrimental to Israel's security. Shapiro concludes by discussing the broader challenges facing the Democratic Party, particularly in light of Harris's campaign struggles. He points out that prominent Democrats, including Nancy Pelosi, have been critical of Israel's actions while failing to address the party's internal issues. Shapiro argues that the Democratic Party's radical leftist agenda is alienating key voter demographics, particularly Catholics and moderate Jews.